This was a tough one. But this is a paid request for Vonte, the last paid request for him. Thank you so much for your patience and your generosity, Vonte. I appreciate it. For anyone that wants to request any type of movie review, re-review, random thoughts, streams, commentaries, video game playthrough for an hour, a full playthrough, tier list, ranking, whatever the case may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal. Do have a CashApp as well. Links are down below in the info box, and I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. And this time, Superman, the Christopher Reeve Story. Came out 2024. It's HBO documentary, of course, on Christopher Reeve. And this one, I knew it'd be a tough watch, and it really was a tough watch. Only because it's just so damn tragic. Especially when you get to the end, because you have Christopher Reeve, Superman. Horse accident. Saying one day he's going to walk again. Believing in it. Did a lot for awareness, fundraising, spinal cord research, injury research. And then one night, in the middle of the night, he falls to a coma and he dies. And then within, 18 months, his wife, she dies. And so this, or a year to 18 months, she died. And they had like a 13-year-old kid, and so he's an orphan. Still have his half-brother, half-sister, but still. I think also lost his grandmother during that time, too. And then so many times you see Robin Williams and how broken up he was, how close he was with Christopher Reeve, and how broken up he was when he died. And then one of the people interviewed, Glenn Close, she says, if Chris was still around, Robin would still be alive, and I truly believe that. So, I mean, you have, like, Chris Reeve dying, the wife dying, Robin's dead. You see, a few times Richard Donner, old footage as he's passed away. Just fucking depressing, man. Just fucking depressing. But I do think this was a good documentary. Now, it's not a documentary in terms of, if you're looking for in-depth info on his films, it's not that kind of documentary. They do touch on Superman, of course, but they don't really go into much of any of his films. They barely reference Superman 2. Superman 3, they reference how he did it because of a contract and he didn't think it'd be good. Superman 4, saying it was a catastrophe. A little bit of him directing that film In the Gloaming with Glenn Close and Whoopi Goldberg about AIDS. But they don't go into your Street Smart. They don't go into Village of the Damned. They don't go into Rear Window, one of the films he directed when he was paralyzed. Like I said, they don't really go into much of his work. It really is about his family, his kids, the accident, and dealing with the repercussions of the accident. It's much more about that. So, I mean, would I have liked to have heard more about the movies? Yes. Just to alleviate, some of the depressing shit. But it still hit hard. I mean, all the home movies you saw before and after the accident. Seeing the kids grown up, Will Reeve, Matthew Reeve, Alexandra. Matthew was the first kid that Christopher Reeve had with, I forget her name, his first, can't say wife because they didn't get married, but his first first lady, I'll put it that way. Then Alexandria, he had Then they got separated because he was afraid of commitment. And then later he met this lady who's a singer, Dana, around 1987. Then they got together, had the one kid, Will, and then eventually did get married. But you did a lot of those three interviewed. You do have the first lady interviewed. Some of Christopher Reeve's friends, so they interviewed Jeff Daniels, they interviewed Whoopi Goldberg, they interviewed Glenn Close, they interviewed Susan Sarandon. I thought that was nice to see. They talk about the accident, how there's a 50-50 chance of survival. You see all the news clips when that was happening. You got a lot of media attention. How the one kid had his third birthday 2 weeks after the accident. How the wife Dana had told Chris, "You're still you and I love you." And that's what made him keep fighting. Otherwise, he was thinking of calling it quits right then and there in 1995. They go into Robin Williams, how he was Christopher Reeve's roommate and good friend from back in the day, and they've known each other ever since back then. How Robin Williams would come in to just try to make Christopher Reeve feel better. And it's just sad to watch that. You get this. It was nice to see the old footage. Like you see the footage back to the day after when Christopher Reeve was successful as Superman, and Robin's hanging out with them, and Robin's on this talk show talking about how we don't want to go with Popeye, we want to go with Superman. So Jeff Daniels talking about how he was in a play with Christopher Reeve when he got the call to audition for Superman and then got the part. They told a little bit about his upbringing, how his parents got divorced when he was 3 years old, and because of all that stuff, it made him leery of commitment later on in life. They talked a little bit about the making of Superman, but not a whole lot. It goes back and forth. It goes back from the time of the accident to back in the 70s and the plays and getting this part of Superman. So it goes back and forth. They talk about, how after accident he went to the Oscars and people applauded, gave a standing ovation. They'll go back to the reactions Superman and the success. Or go back to after the accident when he directed films like In the Gloaming. So it goes back and forth, back and forth. About how he would make other films, but they wouldn't do well. So he had to do Superman 3 and 4. Him doing the fundraisers. I didn't even know about this. There was an ad where during the ad they CGI'd his face on someone who got up and walked. And I guess a lot of people who were I guess a lot of people who had disabilities were mad about the ad. Oh, he's waiting for a cure. I'm like, with all due respect, so are you. Like, you I'm stuttering because I'm flabbergasted. You tell me you wouldn't want a cure to be able to walk again? Well, yeah, this is something that needs to be cured. You would. Let me ask you something. You tell me if this bottle was a cure, right? You drink this bottle, and you're cured, like you. But that's the thing, Matt. They don't want to make it sound like it's a cure, like you got a disease. Fix, like an injury. If you had a broken arm, you would want that fixed. If you want a broken leg, you want that fixed. If you have a broken spine, you want that fixed. That's what I mean by fix, like cure. The fact that people got fucking upset about that, flabbergasted. I am flabbergasted. But the wife Dana said, I guess because false hope. And Christopher Reeve is, it's not about false hope, it's just there's hope. So I guess maybe some people, like, they're tired of someone giving off false hope because they've heard so many times before. So maybe I can understand of this fucking guy. Yeah, okay, yeah, but he's in the same predicament as you, and he wants to walk again. I'm sure you do too. I don't know, I know I'm not in that position, thankfully. But I just still flabbergasted on that. Yeah, but you definitely get into the mindset of what he had to go through after the acid, just being scared if the hoses that made him breathe, if they would break in the middle of the night or something. The courage it took to get through that. How his wife Dana was there every step of the way. All the fundraising they did to get people's attention, get people to talk about, get people to... And then 2004, some infection that wouldn't go away. In the middle of the night, fell into a coma. And just died. And then, like a year, 18 months later, Dana, even though she'd never smoked a day in her life, she got lung cancer. It was quick. And she died. The 3 kids are now grown up, and they're leading the charge with the organizations. I thought they kind of bypassed quickly that thanks to the fundraising, thanks to the research, there are people that have started to walk again. I think that could have been a bit longer. I thought they could have delved a bit deeper into those stories of the people who have these, like, specific people that benefited because of all this. I think we could have spent some time with them. Granted, I get it, you don't want to make it a 2.5 hour documentary. I get it, but still. But I appreciate seeing a lot of the home video footage. You hear a lot of Christopher Reeve's words throughout it. I think it was cool to see people like Jeff Daniels and Glenn Close and Susan Sarandon and such. It definitely showcased just how much courage and bravery it took to go through what he went through and not give up. I mean, this is probably a documentary I would never watch again because it's a tough sit. It's a tough sit. It's definitely emotional. I don't know why the stuff that got me was the stuff between him and Robin Williams. I don't know why. When Robin's at the funeral, or not funeral, what do you call it? He's on stage and they're giving the words about him, and I forget who it was, just talking about how sad Robin looked. And like Robin's talking, you tell he kind of cracks at the end. And it was that line that Glenn Close said, if Chris was still here, if Chris was still here around, Robin would still be alive. I guess her thinking is that he probably would have confided in Chris, and Chris would have told him to keep going, and look what I've been through, and I didn't give up. You don't give up. You don't be a pussy. Which I won't call him that anyway, but maybe as what friends mess with each other. I don't know. Maybe don't close it. It just hit hard, man. It did. I guess I'd say with Christopher Reeve, I think for a lot of people like me, he'll always be my Superman. I love the first Superman. Yeah, the ending where he goes around, turns the Earth around, that always bothered the fuck out of me because if he could do that time, that means he could do it every time, right? So I mean, there's meant to be the ending of the second film, but we need a big ending for the first film. I never liked the idea of turning the world around and turning back time because why don't you do that all the time whenever something bad happens? Because they didn't really show any repercussions of him doing that. Like, you only do it once, you can never do it again or anything. Just hell, in the Donner cut of Superman 2, he does it again. So, I never liked that. That always bothered the fuck out of me. Plus, when he does, it's like, okay, the things hit. So, the missile hit, so the cracks open, because Jimmy Olsen said he went through all this stuff. But it didn't happen because the thing hasn't caved in and Lois hasn't fallen to her death. So it did happen because Jimmy Olsen's out there and and even Lois, Margot Kidder's like, oh, but this stuff was crashing down. So it did hit, but it didn't hit. See, it just confused the fuck out of me. So yeah, I don't like that. But other than that, I love the movie. I love Superman the movie. Superman 2 I do like as well. I'm not sure about him giving up his powers that quickly into the second film. That seems like maybe something that a fourth film would do. A second film, I thought that was a bit too soon to do that. That's just me. But Gene Hackman, Terrence Stamp, the three Kryptonians, the action scenes. I like the theatrical cut more. I don't like the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2. I know that's blasphemy. I don't. I much prefer the theatrical. General, would you care to step outside? That's only in the Richard Lester cut. That's like one of the best lines in the whole franchise, and they cut it out. So yeah, I mean, the comedy didn't bother me in that either. So yeah, Superman 2, I do prefer the Richard Lester cut. I always love Superman 3. I don't care. I always love Superman 3. It's goofy, it's campy, but I do like it. I think it's a lot of fun. Superman 4 I never liked. Never liked it. But yeah, I think Christopher Reeve, he did what he could. But I never liked Superman 4. Now, I've heard from some people that didn't really care for him. I think some of the people that played some of the Kryptonians, I think like the big guy, I forget his name. Not Terrence Stamp, not the girl, but the third guy. I know he said Christopher Reeve was a bit of a prick. I don't know how other people felt. If they felt the same way about him or not. I mean, they were not going to have anybody say it on this type of documentary anyway. And no person is perfect, let's be honest. Nobody's perfect. And they made that even a point where, people think of it as Superman, but, I am just a person. Now, they don't make it a point where other actors thought, oh, he felt he was pretentious or this and that. No, they didn't go into that, but they do mention that, hey, he's not perfect. Nobody is. Like I said, I do wish they delved a bit. I get it, because of the tone of the seriousness of his accident and the whole movies and his personal life. That's what the story was about. If you try to inject, oh, here's the making of this film, I think people go, okay, this is a bit of a weird detour. So I get it. I do get that. And plus, I mean, he's no longer around because so Chris can't talk about the experience of that. Because I don't think like John Carpenter had the best experience with him on Village of the Damned. I don't think so. I have to I have to listen to that interview again. His thoughts are on Christopher Reeve. I know it wasn't a buddy buddy thing. I don't know, but I always liked Christopher Reeve. I always thought he was great as Superman. He did try to fight that by the other roles he took. And to be honest, most of the other roles he was in, I have to be honest, I'm not big on. I'm not Street Smart. That was a project he really wanted to do. I wasn't big on that movie. Morgan Freeman does fine in it, but I'm not big on Street Smart. Death Trap, I don't remember anything about other than Michael Caine was in it. The one he did with Burt Reynolds, I forget what it was called now. Switching Channels. Was not a fan of that film. I didn't think that film was that great. I think Christopher Reeve did what he could in the films he was in. Somewhere in Time, I wasn't a fan of that movie. So that's the thing. If I think of films with him in it, I would say I like Superman 1, 2, 3, and Village of the Damned. I do like that film. Actually, I'm kind of curious. Let me look up Christopher Reeve films. But I mean, he's not the... Even the films I didn't like, he's not the problem. I mean, it would have been nice... Like I said, I get why, but like, it would have been nice to hear... He was on Smallville. Him getting on Smallville and how that was like, you being on the show Smallville, entering the Superman realm again. How was it directing Rear Window to sit in the story and then he's starring in the film? I'm surprised. I think they show clips from it. I think, because I haven't seen that film in forever. I think the clip where it's like him and his hose is breaking and they gotta fix it, I think that's from that movie, I think. But I'm surprised they didn't go into, like, you directed a remake of a Hitchcock film and you starred in it, and the fact you're directing and starring, like, that's pretty ballsy, and again, I'm surprised they didn't go into that. So yeah, I do wish they would have delved into that stuff. I do. But it's definitely heartbreaking. It's definitely emotional. If you're a Christopher Reeve fan, as long as you get ready to feel the hurt, I think it's worth a watch at least one time. Just look at his filmography before I end the video. I love Superman. Somewhere in Time, I just could not get into. I know there's people that like that film. Sorry, I keep doing this because my damn glasses. Like, this part here, it's like scratched. And no matter what I do, so I try to keep the rest of it as clean as I can, but I cannot. This like little thing here, it's not even. It's like somehow, it's like all these little like scuff marks. I don't know how that even happened, but anyway. But you really give a shit. But yeah. I swear, man. You clean it and then one little thing gets on there. Anyway. Death Trap I don't remember. Monsignor I have not seen. Street Smart couldn't get into. Oh, that's interesting. There's Trump, What's the Deal? An American documentary about Donald Trump's business projects, finances, relationships. Made for TV but was never broadcast. Streamed in 1991 and released online. Wow. 1991 and... He did a film called Morning Glory. Yeah, it doesn't look like my kind of film, to be honest. Speechless, I've heard of because Michael Keaton's in it, Gina Davis, Bernie Hudson. And so, oh look, it's Batman and Superman in the same movie. Village of the Damned, I do like. He did do TV work. He was in... Well, before that, he was in Above Suspicion, made for TV. In the Gloaming, he directed. Rear Window, 1998, he did. Oh, he didn't direct it. For some reason, I thought he directed that. I don't know why. He starred in it. He didn't direct it. Sorry, I don't know why I thought he directed it. He only starred in it. So sorry, I screwed that up. I don't know why I did get that confused with In the Gloaming, which he directed. So he starred in Rear Window. Was still starring in it. Pretty ballsy. And really, that was the last film he starred in. That's why I'm surprised they didn't talk about it. Like, that's the last film he starred in. Because that was 1998. Then TV specials. He directed the Brooke Ellison story. And there you go. Well, I guess TV he was in Smallville. So that was the last thing he starred in was Smallville. That's Dr. Virgil Swan, 2 episodes. 2003, 2004. So there you go. Anyway, sorry. Went on a tangent there. But yeah, Christopher Reeve. It's a shame. I mean, again, watching it, they have the quote from Richard Donner, like, when I believed he could fly, he made me a believer, and that's why I believe I think he'll walk again. And of course, sadly, that never happened. That never happened, and now Richard Donner's gone, Christopher Reeve's gone, then his wife died year and a half later, Robin Williams is gone. Just really fucking depressing. I mean, they give hope at the end where, you know, people have been helped. That's why I wish they delved in that a bit longer, like I said before, but definitely some inspiration to be had there for Christopher Reeve. You know, you think you're going through tough stuff. You know, when you think you're going through tough things, you think you're going through a tough spot, you think you're going through tough situations in life, and then you watch something like this, you go, you know what? Right now, in my life, it may change tomorrow, it may change next week, next month, or next year, but right now, things aren't too bad. I mean, if a guy like Christopher Reeve, who loved skiing and loved to fly airplanes and was paralyzed in a chair and kept going for, well, about 9 years. And he was able to handle that. It's hard to complain about stuff going on in your life, you know what I mean? So, definitely a source of inspiration. So, miss you, Richard Donner, miss you, Robin Williams, miss you, Christopher Reeve. Dana seemed like a sweet lady, very loving, committed to her husband to the end. Shame. Feel sorry for the kids, but it looks like they have a good head on their shoulders, all 3 of them. When they recount their father passing away, man, this was a tough sit. I know I keep repeating that, but it was a tough fucking sit, man. But I'm glad I saw it at least once. With that said, thanks for watching, take care, and we will see you in the next video.